Our next outstanding contributor is Madame Loi Yit Hua. Like the traditional Chinese orchid, which blooms bold, beautiful, and serene, without fanfare in the wilderness, Madame Loi Yit Hua quietly carried out her good works for years. A successful entrepreneur with a beauty empire in her own right, Madame Loi chose to retain a low profile. You won't find long articles about this dear lady in the newspapers or on the internet, but those who have been the recipients of her unstinting generosity can attest to the lady's kindness and thoughtfulness. Quietly going about distributing her largesse where it is very often most needed, Madame Loi was an unsung friend indeed when they most needed a true friend's unquestioning help with family or personal problems, let alone financial setbacks. Born the only girl in her family, Madame Loi was a magnanimous person with a personality, strength of character and charisma that stood her in good stead when she began raising funds for the Huiyin Se Foundation. Back then, it was a little-known charity that raised funds for the needy and to provide schooling for orphans. Single-handedly supporting the cause, she donated large sums of money and set about raising both awareness of the foundation as well as more contributions from among her friends and contacts year after year. Thanks to her efforts, Huiyin Se building his own charity home. The patron of the Huiyin Se Foundation, she passed away in 2001, but even on her deathbed, she was more worried about galvanizing her friends into action to raise more money for the old and the orphaned in Penang. In 2002, the Chinese newspaper Guangming Daily was the first to recognize her efforts, and it honored her as one of the 10 most outstanding personalities who had passed away during the decade. It was probably only during her funeral that the full extent of her magnanimity was revealed, as flower shops all over the island ran out of flowers, when the thousands who knew her or had benefited personally from her compassion and kindness flocked to pay their last tribute to this simple woman who had done so much so quietly. Next, we have Dato Salina Yahya Issa. Occasionally, our charitable efforts do not reach some who require more just money to lead better lives. For more than 50 years, Dato Salina Yahya Issa has been fighting tirelessly on behalf of one such segment of our society, the hearing impaired. An alumnus of the Methodist Girls' School, Penang, Dato Salina was one of the 250 pioneer students selected nationally to attend Kirkby College in England in 1952. She then returned to teach at her alma mater. It was when she was approached to volunteer her services as Honorary Secretary of the Federation School for the Deaf by Dr. Elaine Field, the Chief Pediatrician of the Federation of Malaysia, that Dato Salina found her calling. Her involvement with her hearing impaired led her to undergo further courses in special education and audiology at Manchester University, England. She was appointed principal of the Federation School for the Deaf in 1961 and was responsible for expanding the new school premises on a 12-acre site in the Vale of Tempe, Tanjung Bunga. She set up Malaysia's first audiological clinic to test the hearing of infants and young children suspected of deafness gratis as an expression of gratitude for her scholarships. She pioneered the provision of secondary as well as tertiary education for the hearing impaired. She was instrumental in getting the Ministry of Education to provide classes up to Form 5 for deaf children, while she strove tirelessly to solicit sponsorships from business corporations and foundations for talented students to attend Gallaudet University in America, the only university in the world for the hearing impaired. She also went on to fight for the rights of the hearing impaired for admission to local university and succeeded in 1985. Since then, the door of tertiary education for the deaf with the necessary academic qualifications is open to them. On assuming the principalship in 1961, her foresight led to her restructure and upgrade the vocational syllabus to ensure that her charges left school with marketable skills. As their voluntary job placement officer, she then found jobs for them with government departments, private firms, and factories. Her book, Against All Odds, Education of the Deaf in Malaysia 1954 to 1987, launched at USM in 2004 by Yang Amat Berbrahaya Tun Dr. Siti Hasma, is strongly recommended to all Malaysians engaged in the service of humanity. Dr. Selina, in her retirement, continues actively engaged in charity service. She has been instrumental in setting up a number of projects for the General Hospital Penang. She was awarded the DSPN from YTY Yang Dipertua Negeri Pulau Penang in 1993 and the Edward Milner Galadau International Award for Outstanding Services to the Deaf by the Galadau University Alumni Association in 1981. Next, we have Dato' Hajis Zubadaya binti Tan Sri CM Hashim. Dato' Haja Zubadaya's involvement with charity and social organizations began when she was 19. As she confesses in her entertaining autobiography, Zubadaya. From hospital visits with the Red Cross back then to her involvement as one of the founding members with Peritikan Perempuan Melayu Pulau Penang, the Malay Women's League of Penang, founded by her mother-in-law, Lady Rahiman, the wife of Dr. Sir Kamil Muhammad Arif bin Kadir Mastan, to provide help for destitute Malay women in rural areas in the form of money, rice, and other provisions. Dato' Haji Zubadaya can look back on more than half a century of good works. In a personal capacity, Dato' Haji Zubadaya's Housewives' Corner, a multiracial gathering of housewives that included such social figures as Lily Lo Guan Lai, the daughters of millionaire Sao Seng Kho, Anna Tamaratam, and Lubna Jamaboy, organized their own little handicraft and food fairs for more than 40 years, sending all proceeds to various charity homes on the island. Her involvement with the Women's Institute, where she was president for more than 30 years, provided fresh charitable avenues for her energies. A forum on family planning at the Keck Association building in Penang involved commandeering a convoy of buses for the rural participants who came from Balik Palau, Teluk Kumbar, Bayan Lepas, and Pematang Binjai. The talks included such esoteric material as baby care, nutrition, and hygiene. Dato' Haji Zubadaya's family connections and her own compassionate nature also led her to involvement with orphans. The Persatuan Kebajikan Anak-Anak Yatim Pulau Penang was an all-boys orphanage of which both her father and father-in-law were presidents, and it was during Dato' Haja's tenure as deputy chairman that a similar orphanage for girls was started, while her service as a committee member of Perkim and its related kindergarten continues to this day. Dato' Haja has also built a mosque in Cambodia, the only brick building in Kampot village, so that the local Muslims might have a proper place to pray. This incredibly kind and generous woman has not stopped her compassion to help and still continues helping many. An accomplished musician on the piano, guitar, electric organ and accordion, Dato' Haja Zubadaya is a great-grandmother today, but her efforts on behalf of the needy continue with as much zest as when she was 19.